This is slow. This is fast. And that's because we're using 4-piece Vithus. And we can do this with escape as well. You can see that escape, although the ability in general is fairly quick, that is kind of the slow version. And when this cooldown comes up in a few more seconds, I'll use Vengeance to trigger the Vithus buff and then use escape. And here you can see escape much quicker that second time. And this is important because what we're talking about is a farm build. So welcome back, everybody. Let's go ahead and cover the build here. We'll start with the essences. We are using Hara's Heave Under, Hate Sheath, Live Bait. I would use Scornbeak here. I don't have it yet. Flame Spite, and the Hungerer. In this build, there isn't much variation. Since I don't have the Scornbeak, I happen to just slap in a Vengeance piece. Really doesn't matter. So the gist of the build is to have multiple mobility skills. We're using Daring Swing to increase our movement speed. This is where the Scornbeak comes into play. That'll increase your attack speed as well after you use Daring Swing. Very good combo to have. Hate Sheath is just going to allow your Vengeance to basically increase attack speed and do more damage overall. Since we're farming, we don't really need to focus fire or anything. We're just trying to mow everything down. Live Bait is going to give us the tumble on the escape. Without it, it's really clunky to use. You pretty much have to have this in order to get that second mobility skill in. Flame Spite allows our multi-shot to be really effective, and actually, if you're strong enough, you can actually take off packs without running through them. So depending on the loop that you're farming, you can shoot off in the distance and knock them out. The Hunger, pretty standard for farming unless you're using like a strafe build. It's been used for a really long time. So what we're looking at is just the mobility of this build. And if we picture a circle as we're running around, and the reason that these things matter with the Vithus is because if we use our tumble, you'll notice that there's a buff that appears on a character. Not just the Vithus, but this short-lived buff there also increases our movement speed after we use it. So if we're trying to travel a large distance or a long way, we want to make sure that we don't overlap these so that we can get the most out of them. Daring Swing, given what we're using for essences, will also provide a movement speed buff. However, this one is much longer. So if we use the Daring Swing again, we've lost some of that total duration. So what we actually want to do here is essentially use the dash when possible, let that buff wear off, and then use the Daring Swing, and we'll kind of maintain this fast movement speed for a longer period of time. All we need to do on top of that, if we really want to be sweaty, is make sure that we have the Vithus buff active before we use the movement speed skills, and that will allow the cast animations to be quicker as well. Is that necessary? No, absolutely not. However, it's just a little something if you want to play that way, and you like kind of that engaging play style. So, in general, the build is super easy. Let me try a location. If it's busy, since this is a popular time to farm, I'll just edit it out until we get to one that's open. I like the Frozen Tundra, so hopefully this one is free. If not, I may just show you what I like to do there anyways. So get loaded here if we ever do. It's been a little bit laggy since the recent update for myself. There's also been a lot of crashes. So as we come through, what I really like about this area is you can come through, you can leap, and you can take out this pack. Now, another option you have is to actually come through and kill that pack, use your escape, kill them, and then use the escape to come back and keep traveling in this direction. Again, a little bit sweaty. However, it really makes for a solid farm, allows you to get that extra pack. And in this farm location, if you don't have a full group, the spawn timers can actually prevent you from doing the loop. Now, it just started here, so the spawns aren't as fast as they'll get. But in general, if you don't have a full group in this location, you can sometimes outpace the spawns. You'll see now I'll come back, take on this group, and just keep moving. And I'm trying to keep this Vithus buff active whenever I use one of these movement skills, if at all possible. If I don't, I want to make sure that I tumble first and then use the swing. Just that way, the movement speeds aren't overlapping each other again either. In this case, I don't have escape up, so I'll actually use it to come back and just kind of flow that way. The gameplay in general is very straightforward. Use your Vengeance when possible, and you'll see the Hate Sheath really doesn't disrupt you. It just starts shooting in different directions. The build overall, very, very efficient. Demon Hunter in general, a great farmer. Shouldn't have much difficulty. Gonna leave the variations out like I mentioned, but if you don't happen to have these essences, feel free to leave questions or anything you'd like in the comments, and I'll help you figure out some pieces that might work in the meantime. However, in this Demon Hunter meta, a lot of people have already swapped, and I'm kind of late to the swap per se, but I did want to cover it. I've managed to round up a couple of friends, and this will cause the respawns to be a little bit quicker, so I'm going to show off this build a little bit here. So I go over, the multi-shot clears that pack, immediately use the return on the escape, and that'll get you back and keep you moving. You'll see this build in general just kind of mows everything down. pop Vengeance when needed. You could save that for blues, yellows, anything like that. In this case, I don't necessarily always need it, so I usually just kind of use it off cooldown. Again, using the escape to get back, and then you can kind of just return. Looks like we have a wizard trying to compete for the spot. They could obviously request to join, and I would certainly accept it, but at this point it looks like they're just going to grief. Go through and basically outpace them. And in general, a really high resonance battle mage will be able to outrun you because their AoE aura will allow them to just run through the packs. And also a high resonance barb running like a sprint fire aura build can also outpace you. Other than that, you're probably the next fastest. In fact, I actually often outpace Crusaders. So overall, very strong build if you're looking just to farm or have something for a change of pace. The simplicity of it is really big. You don't have to utilize all the sweaty little tricks for the increased speed on the mobility, or even just using the escape to return. You can simply just use it to move forward and you'll be fine. But the power of the build really just comes from its ability to just absolutely kill things really quick. You can run Vanquisher, you could run Massacre. I prefer using the 2-piece Isatars to complement the 4-piece Vithus. I'm often doing a lot of the killing so the buff stays active, and certainly if you farm in the way that I typically recommend, which is essentially to utilize shifts, then you'll be the one getting all the kills or the vast majority, in that Isatars will be up essentially all the time. However, if you farm in groups where multiple people are farming, you may not find as much value in Isatars, especially if you don't have the firepower to get the healing blow yourself, so that choice is kind of up to you. Lastly, as we've had to change the shifts now, I'd like to cover where I use this build, and you may have other uses for it as well, and feel free to share those if you do. So I obviously use this open world farm. However, it's also really good in the Accursed Towers, whether you're just going in to run as fast as possible and get your chests for the weekly rewards, or if you're actually going to collect the shards for maximum points. It's good at both of those. So, as always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.